In a world where chaos reigns, the battle intensifies. The pirates, unstoppable in their ferocity, tear through the mechanical soldiers without breaking a sweat. But in the midst of it all, Buggy the Clown has a terrifying revelation. His awakening brings with it devastating power. No longer just a joke, Buggy is now an unstoppable force, capable of dismantling his enemies with a flick of his hands. Meanwhile, Luffy's fight against Akainu reaches a breaking point. With Gear 5th still beyond his grasp, Luffy is no match for the magma-spewing Admiral. Whitebeard, ever the powerhouse, takes on the Admirals, his strength remaining as fierce as ever. However, the battle takes an unexpected turn when the Marines deploy their ultimate weapon, a towering wall meant to trap the pirates, but a flaw in their strategy leaves a gap. The pirates charge, but the Marines aren't caught off guard. Cannons roar as the pirates fall under heavy fire, and Akainu rains molten lava, turning the bay into a hellish battlefield. The outcome remains uncertain, as forces far beyond their control converge, and the fate of all hangs in the balance. Little Oars Jr. woke up with a jolt, barely alive but still standing, despite the fierce injuries he had sustained. The three admirals loomed before him, their power enough to end him in an instant, and the Marines surrounding him were only making things worse with their relentless gunfire. Kizaru, as cold as ever, aimed his glowing finger at Little Oars Jr., commenting on his stubbornness to keep standing despite his near-death state. With a cruel smile, Kizaru suggested a swift end, targeting Little Oars Jr.'s head. Just as the moment of execution neared, an explosion ruptured from outside the encircling wall, unleashing a flood of water and halting Kizaru's attack. Luffy emerged from the wave, holding a broken mast in his hand, battle-worn and drained from the use of Gear 4th, but his determination burned brightly. His strength was nearly gone, yet he locked his gaze on the execution platform, completely ignoring the three admirals who had caused terror for countless pirates. The admirals regarded him with a mix of mockery and disinterest. Kizaru taunted Luffy for making it this far. Akainu acknowledged the son of Dragon's bravery, and Aokiji marveled at his youth. The entire Marine force turned to watch, while in Sabaody, spectators were amazed at Luffy's courage, though most doubted his survival. The three admirals spoke once again, noting his persistence in the face of certain death. In this epic showdown, Luffy, undeterred by the overwhelming odds, roars, demanding his brother back. With a surge of defiance, he hurls the broken mast at the admirals, only for Aokiji to freeze it with a flick of his power. But Luffy, ever relentless, taps into his second gear and shatters the ice with a thunderous kick, plunging the battlefield into an icy fog. Seizing the moment, he attempts to break through the admiral's defenses, but Kizaru's speed proves too much, delivering a devastating kick that sends Luffy crashing. With hope dwindling, Sengoku orders the execution of Ace, and the Marines seem on the verge of victory. Yet, just when all seems lost, a flicker of unease creeps across Sengoku's face, as Alex, watching the chaos unfold, wears a knowing smile. The drums of fate beat louder, and Luffy's body trembles, surrounded by a mist of steam, signaling something greater is at play. The battle's outcome still hangs in the balance, and reality itself seems ready to twist once more. The excerpt you've shared gives an intense glimpse into the complex personality of Alex Locke in the narrative. It presents him as someone with immense power, yet calm and detached in his interactions, emphasizing his ability to remain composed even in moments of high tension. His approach to problem-solving and relationships seems to be methodical and philosophical, focusing on possibilities rather than emotional responses. The description of Alex in the file is consistent with this tone. He is portrayed as a figure who has transcended emotional reactions and instead engages with the world in a way that aligns more with understanding time, space, and energy, indicating a character deeply involved in the manipulation of the fundamental forces around him. His personality, as you've shown, comes across as both enigmatic and purpose-driven, with a quiet intensity that would definitely intrigue those around him, like Marco and King Neptune. It's a fascinating mix of stoicism and intellectual curiosity. What do you think of this personality? Does it fit with what you envision for him, or do you have other ideas? Luffy's instincts as a seasoned fighter scream that going head-to-head with the awakened version of himself might spell his downfall. From the Whitebeard pirates to the Marines, all eyes were now locked on Luffy not just as Straw Hat anymore, but as one of the mightiest forces in the sea. His heart burned with determination to save his brother Ace, charging toward the execution platform without asking for Alex's help. He knew better than to rely on anyone else. This was his battle. But just as he neared the platform, a flash of light sliced through the air. Kizaru, moving faster than the speed of light, stepped in his way. "Yo, yo, yo, you ain't getting any closer," Kizaru taunted. With everything he had, Kizaru unleashed a devastating light attack, blinding the entire battlefield. But Luffy, with his rubber body, snatched the light itself, turned it into a weapon, and flung it back at the Admiral. Kizaru, shocked, was sent flying by his own attack. But before Luffy could move forward, the other two admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, arrived, surrounding him. They brought everything they had, trying to overpower him, but even together, they struggled to bring him down. Meanwhile, as Luffy faced off against the admirals, the rest of his crew wasn't just standing by. Zoro, pushing his haki to new heights, was locked in an intense battle that could rival any admiral. Sanji, freed from earlier skirmishes, found his own body awakening to superhuman abilities, making him an unstoppable force. While the Straw Hats gained ground, a new pirate ship emerged from the depths, bringing fresh hope for the pirates. With a thunderous crash, Alex's Moby Dick 2 tore through the battlefield, shattering walls and barriers with ease. Oars Jr., with a final, Herculean effort, hurled the ship towards the execution platform, breaching its defenses. But this final act of valor drained his strength, signaling the end of his battle. In the aftermath of a brutal assault, Oz succumbs to his injuries, despite Alex's earlier victory over Gecko Moria. Marco, mourning the loss, whispers a final thanks to Oz and takes to the sky, intent on reaching the execution platform to rescue Ace. But just as he nears his goal, Garp intercepts him, delivering a devastating punch that sends Marco crashing. Garp descends, his cloak emblazoned with the word justice, his presence swelling with authority. "If you want to reach the execution platform, you'll have to kill me first." He roars, his figure appearing older, burdened by both family and duty. In this moment, Garp chooses his responsibilities over personal bonds. Meanwhile, Whitebeard enters the fray, unleashing devastating attacks that topple Marines with every blow. His gaze meets Luffy, engaged in battle with the three admirals, his unconventional fighting style impressing even Whitebeard. A passing thought of Shanks echoes in Whitebeard's mind. "I've staked my arm on the new era." It's clear Luffy is already on par with the Emperors of the Sea. As Akainu notices Whitebeard's rampage, he shifts focus, leaving Luffy to his comrades. "Straw Hat is yours," Akainu declares. "I'll stop Whitebeard." With Akainu's departure, Kizaru and Aokiji face escalating pressure. Though injured, Luffy's Zoan awakening grants him rapid regeneration, seeming to turn the tide. Yet, the battle rages on, and even with his powers, Luffy's endurance is tested to the limit. As Akainu and Whitebeard clash, shockwaves reverberate across the battlefield. Akainu, resolute in his belief in absolute justice, faces Whitebeard, whose strength is now boundless, his earlier frailty erased. "If I let you rampage further, this island won't survive," Akainu warns. Whitebeard, feeling the surge of power, turns his focus back to Akainu, ready for the next round of their fateful clash. Do you like this personality? The battle between two titans of immense power raged on, their fists colliding in a clash of black and red lightning that lit up the battlefield. The shockwaves sent ripples across the entire landscape, blasting everyone in the vicinity. Marines and pirates alike were hurled through the air, some severely injured by the aftershocks, with no hope of survival without help. The onlookers scrambled, fearing the overwhelming forces at play. "Stay back! This isn't a fight we can interfere with." The clash between Whitebeard and Akainu had gone far beyond Luffy's prior confrontation with Akainu. Whitebeard's objective was clear: rescue Fire Fist Ace, but with every strike, he tore into Marineford, intent on sinking the island and forcing the Marines into a desperate struggle for survival. Akainu, however, wasn't going to let that happen. Though he restrained his own attacks to limit the destruction, Whitebeard's relentless assault was overwhelming. But this wasn't the frail Whitebeard of old, weakened by illness and fatal wounds. This was a force of nature, and Akainu, already exhausted from prior battles, was struggling to keep up. As the war's carnage continued, only the strongest remained standing, with the rest already felled. Sengoku, seeing the pirates closing in on the execution platform, gave the order to carry out Ace's execution. Yet the executioners, knocked out by Luffy's Conqueror's Haki, were no longer responding. In the midst of this chaos, Alex observed from a distance, but Fire Fist Ace, sitting nearby, slammed his head onto the table in frustration, knocking over a pile of snacks. Just as they were about to hit the ground, Alex snapped his fingers, reversing their motion and sending them back to the table. Annoyed, Alex asked, "Kid, what's gotten into you?" Ace, face filled with anguish, muttered, "Damn it, I'm so twisted." "Do you like this personality? At a moment like this, when my father, brother, and comrades are shedding blood and making sacrifices, here I am sitting alone, tears of joy streaming down my face. It's only now that I truly grasp the weight of life." Sengoku doesn't even flinch at Ace's outburst, and Alex, well, he couldn't care less. In fact, a sly grin creeps onto his face, the kind you wear when you're getting a kick out of the madness unfolding. With a cool, almost detached tone, he speaks, "The value of life? Nah, you've got it all wrong. For the strong, life isn't some precious thing." Ace, refusing to back down despite Alex's godlike power, spits back, his anger flaring. "What do you know? Have you ever had comrades? Watched your family die before your eyes? No, you're just a lonely figure. How could you possibly understand?" Alex gives him a look that says everything, like he's dealing with a fool. Your family dies because you're weak, and for the strong, life and death are just options. With a tap of his finger, ripples of energy pulse through the air. In a blink, the lifeless bodies scattered around them. The fallen pirates and marines begin to twitch, rise, confused, murmuring, "What's going on? Wasn't I dead?" Ace is frozen, his mind racing. This? His entire understanding of reality is cracking wide open. Ace stumbled, struggling to speak as his mind raced with questions. What kind of devil fruit power could bring the dead back to life? How was that even possible? In that split second, realization hit him. His fiery gaze locked onto Alex. Could it be? Was it true that, with Alex's power, anyone who perished in this war could be resurrected as long as Alex willed it? Across the battlefield, Sengoku staggered to his feet, his surprise momentarily shaking his composure. The notorious criminal Alex, wielding the power to bring the dead back? If that was true, what was the point of this war? If Alex wanted, he could simply revive Ace after the execution, turning the entire spectacle into a joke. The Marines would become a laughingstock, and Alex would stand victorious atop the fallen bodies of both pirates and Marines, his reputation spreading far and wide. A small chuckle escaped Alex's lips, but he remained silent. His goals far simpler than dominating the world. He just wanted to grow stronger and have fun. Around him, the spectacle was unfolding with shock and awe. A Marine, wide-eyed, stuttered, They've come back to life." Another questioned, "Is it Gecko Moria's shadow fruit? Are these just zombies controlled by shadows?" But a third corrected them, "No, they're not decayed. They've fully regained vitality. These aren't zombies." Meanwhile, Buggy continued to film the extraordinary scene with his video transponder Snail, broadcasting the footage to Sabaody Archipelago, and the news quickly spread across the world. Even the celestial dragons were shaken. The five elders abandoned their plan to eliminate Alex and instead shifted focus to capturing him alive. Sengoku's palm crashed onto the table with a thunderous noise, yet the wood remained unscathed, showcasing its extraordinary durability. His eyes, burning with fury and disbelief, locked onto Alex, demanding an explanation for his actions. "Alex, why are you doing all of this?" he thundered. Alex, completely unfazed, sipped his milk tea with casual indifference. Doing what?" he replied with a raised eyebrow. Sengoku's frustration boiled over. "You're empowering the Straw Hat crew, healing Whitebeard, slaying the Shichibukai, and now showing the world your ability to resurrect and empower people. Do you realize what you've just done? You've made yourself a target for everyone. What's your purpose?" The air around Sengoku shimmered as his form transformed into a massive golden Buddha, a last-ditch effort to contain the chaos Alex might unleash. Alex's calm smile never faltered. "My purpose?" "At first, it was just for fun," he mused, to Sengoku's disbelief. "But as the war unfolded, something else began to stir within me. I don't want to watch heroes fade into obscurity. I don't want to see the strong fall or those who fight for justice caught in impossible dilemmas. And above all, I won't stand by as hope is crushed. From where I stand, this world is full of passion and joy, but it's also teetering on the edge. Do you like this personality? Alex's words reverberated like a cosmic decree. I don't consider myself a good person, but if I were a god, I'd be one of benevolence. I would sever the decay of this world, leaving only an ideal. The air thickened with disbelief, yet there was an undeniable truth in his tone. The celestial dragons, in their claims of godhood, had only ever spoken of power, but Alex's declaration struck deep, transcending mere status. As Sengoku charged, his fist aimed with lethal intent, Alex's power responded. With a flick of his hand, Sengoku was sent crashing into the mountains, a mere afterthought. Turning the video transponder snail toward himself, Alex's voice rang out with an unyielding calm. Do you desire my power? Do you crave eternal life? If you want it, come find me. I offer more than the Pirate King's treasure. His words carried weight, shaking the very foundations of the world. This wasn't about wealth or status, but an invitation to a new world order, one where Alex held dominion, a revolution far more profound than any treasure. The proof of his offer lay in the actions that had already taken place. Luffy's clash with the admirals, Zoro's equal footing with Mihawk, and Whitebeard's restored strength, shaking the very seas. This was no mere promise. This was destiny. Alex's words were far from empty boasts. They were a declaration of undeniable power. His message reverberated across the seas, from the Four Blues to the Grand Line, and even the New World. As reporters were frozen before the giant screens, some fainting from the sheer magnitude of what they had just witnessed. His words were no ordinary proclamation. They carried the weight of a new treasure, far beyond anything the world had ever seen. As chaos unfolded around him, Alex sat back calmly, his earlier actions forming a meticulously planned foundation for this very moment. His goal was not mere enjoyment or vengeance, but to use this world as a proving ground, leveraging his abilities to control energy and shape destinies. With his level 5/6 eyes and energy absorption powers, Alex could lend his strength to others, only to reclaim it amplified along with their souls. This was his grand experiment, to evolve into a dimensional god by harvesting power in a way far more efficient than devouring other universes. Meanwhile, in the heart of the world government, the Five Elders trembled at the apocalyptic implications of Alex's rise. Their grip on power was slipping, and the allure of resurrection kept them hesitating to act, even as the command came down from Imu to capture Alex alive. But as the call ended, one thing was clear: action was inevitable. Alex's words reverberated like a cosmic decree. I don't consider myself a good person, but if I were a god, I'd be one of benevolence. I would sever the decay of this world, leaving only an ideal. The air thickened with disbelief, yet there was an undeniable truth in his tone. The celestial dragons, in their claims of godhood, had only ever spoken of power, but Alex's declaration struck deep, transcending mere status. As Sengoku charged, his fist aimed with lethal intent, Alex's power responded. With a flick of his hand, Sengoku was sent crashing into the mountains, a mere afterthought. Turning the video transponder snail toward himself, Alex's voice rang out with an unyielding calm. Do you desire my power? Do you crave eternal life? If you want it, come find me. I offer more than the Pirate King's treasure. His words carried weight, shaking the very foundations of the world. This wasn't about wealth or status, but an invitation to a new world order, one where Alex held dominion, a revolution far more profound than any treasure. The proof of his offer lay in the actions that had already taken place. Luffy's clash with the admirals, Zoro's equal footing with Mihawk, and Whitebeard's restored strength, shaking the very seas. This was no mere promenade at Marineford. The scene was intense as Alex, sitting high atop the execution platform, took in the chaos below. Luffy, with his awakened powers, was struggling against the formidable admirals Kizaru and Aokiji. Despite his efforts, Luffy was overwhelmed and kicked away by Kizaru's immense strength, flying directly into the path of Whitebeard. The legendary pirate, recognizing the potential in Luffy, caught him mid-air and observed the young pirate's power. Impressed, Whitebeard noted that Luffy's strength rivaled his own and had even wounded both admirals. Gasping for air, Luffy insisted on being let go. desperate to save Ace. Whitebeard, seeing Luffy's resolve, allowed him to continue his fight. Meanwhile, Inazuma, wielding the scissors fruit, created a bridge to the execution platform. With the path now clear, Luffy charged forward, only to be intercepted by Kizaru. But Whitebeard's sword forced the Admiral into defense, clearing the way for Luffy. As Luffy neared the platform, Vice Admiral Garp stepped forward, halting him. Confused, Luffy shouted for his grandfather to step aside, but Garp, standing firm, declared that as a Marine Vice Admiral, he would never allow his grandson to pass. He unleashed his full might, a pressure as powerful as Whitebeard's, shaking the air around them. Luffy's resolve wavered for a moment, but he quickly regained his focus. His dream of becoming Pirate King and saving Ace was too important, and if Garp stood in his way, he'd be forced to knock him down. With his Devil Fruit powers fully awakened, Luffy readied himself for the ultimate challenge. SE. This was destiny. Even when Garp landed heavily on it, the road twisted and bent but didn't break. Gum Gum, White Stamp. Luffy's legs snapped back, coiled in Conquerors and Armament Haki, and blasted toward Garp with the fury of a storm. Luffy had always known his grandfather was strong, but now, enhanced by Alex's power, Luffy's observation Haki flared, allowing him to feel the depth of Garp's strength. Without hesitation, he unleashed everything in a single strike. Garp's eyes widened in shock as the black and red lightning of Luffy's attack surged toward him. What was meant to be a show of resistance, a theatrical defeat, now turned into a battle for survival as Luffy's power overwhelmed him. Even Garp, the legendary grandfather, couldn't simply shrug off this hit. With a fist covered in Armament Haki, he met Luffy's full force. The clash of their powers sparked violent bursts of lightning, and the shockwaves shattered the very ground beneath them. One fought with all his might, the other held back, and the outcome was inevitable. Garp stumbled, pretending to falter, as Luffy's kick broke through his defense, sending him crashing through buildings and burying him under rubble. Blood, real blood, poured from his mouth, a testament to Luffy's growing strength. Garp smiled through the pain. His grandchildren had truly grown. Upon reaching the execution platform, Luffy spotted Mr. 3 and grinned, knowing that wax with the hardness of steel was all he needed to break through the barriers ahead. Without Alex's influence, Luffy hadn't formed a bond with Boa Hancock, so she never gave him the key to Ace's cuffs. Fortunately, with Mr. 3's presence, a new key was crafted on the spot. As Mr. 3 worked, Luffy took a moment to scan his surroundings, and that's when his gaze locked onto Alex. "Alex? What are you doing here?" Luffy asked in disbelief. Alex shook his head, exhaling a sigh. "Seriously? After all those times you stared at the execution platform, always fixated on Ace?" But Alex wasn't surprised. As Luffy focused on freeing Ace, Sengoku's mood darkened. His form expanded, glowing golden as he transformed into a towering Buddha, wielding the mythical powers of the human fruit, model Buddha. As Sengoku took his Buddha form, the seagull perched on his head took flight, circling the battlefield. Sengoku's massive fist swung toward Luffy, but with his observation Haki, Luffy countered, their collision of Haki causing shockwaves that shattered the execution platform below. Ace and Mr. 3 tumbled as the platform crumbled, but Alex, who had been sitting far away, remained unscathed. The shockwaves couldn't touch him, and gravity had no pull over him. Sipping red wine, Alex calmly observed the battle. With nothing able to approach him within 5 meters, even Sengoku, sent flying by the shockwaves, was repelled by Alex's aura, suffering even more damage. Meanwhile, Mr. 3 unlocked Ace's shackles, and the pirates around them erupted in joyous cheers. Finally! Is this conversation helpful so far? With Ace freed, Luffy acted fast, sending the mighty Sengoku flying and seizing the chance to reunite with his brother. Their goal, rescue Ace, was complete, but the battle wasn't over. Now, all that stood between them and victory was a perilous escape from Marineford. As the Marines closed in, Ace stepped up, flashing a confident grin and positioning himself in front of Luffy. "This time, I'll protect you," Ace declared. But before they could react, a deadly spear shot through the air, aimed right at them. Weakened from the battles they'd fought, Ace barely had time to react. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a fist, brimming with the power of Haki, obliterated the spear, sending it flying past Ace's face. Luffy laughed, his voice full of newfound confidence. Ha ha ha, Ace. Thanks to the guidance I received, I'm stronger than before. This time, I'm the one protecting you. Ace's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and disbelief. The younger brother, who once could never surpass him, had finally caught up. But he wasn't going to lose that easily. Haha, not a chance. We're brothers, Luffy. We fight side by side. One day, I'll surpass you again. Suddenly, a thick fog rolled in, and a cold, calm voice cut through the tension. Admiral Aokiji materialized before them, blocking their path with an air of finality. You talk of surpassing each other? You won't even see tomorrow's sun, Aokiji declared, blood dripping from his forehead from his earlier clash with Luffy. Though he was injured, he still posed a formidable threat. Ace, weak from his long imprisonment, and Luffy, battered from his many battles, were in no shape to face him head-on. Even with Aokiji's own energy spent, his remaining strength could still spell doom for the two brothers. Luffy lunged forward with a burst of energy, his legs spinning like wheels as he pushed off the ground with incredible force. The earth beneath him stretched and compressed, a rubbery spring, before it launched him with slingshot speed. The battle soon ignited, the brothers facing off against Aokiji, but despite their best efforts, the icy marine and his fleet quickly overwhelmed them. Meanwhile, a deep rumble signaled the arrival of the Maelstrom Spider Pirates. Their battered ship, powered by turbines, crawled toward Marineford's walls. With one final act of sacrifice, they aimed to clear a path for Whitebeard and his crew, but a single figure stepped forward, halting the massive vessel with just one hand. Whitebeard, barely holding on, addressed his crew. His body might have healed, but his spirit was fading. "You don't understand what it means for a parent to bury their child," he said, urging them to live on. His voice was heavy, and in his eyes, the weight of a legend nearing its end. Though Whitebeard still seemed the same outwardly, there was a deep weariness in his being, the strength of the world's mightiest pirate now a shadow. Even Alex, watching from a distance, recognized the reality. Whitebeard knew his time was up. Even with his body restored, the inevitable end was near. Alex, understanding the existential burden, thought that in Whitebeard's place, he might have made the same choice. Luffy surged ahead with a burst of speed, his legs spinning like wheels, as the ground beneath him transformed into a rubbery surface that stretched and compressed with each push. He shot forward with the power of a slingshot, a blur of motion. The battle that followed was a fierce clash, with Aokiji's ice powers and the relentless Marines overwhelming the brothers, halting their progress. Meanwhile, in the distance, the Maelstrom Spider Pirates' turbine-driven ship crawled toward Marineford's walls, ready to sacrifice itself in a desperate bid to create an escape route for Whitebeard and his allies. As the ship hurtled toward its doom, a lone figure stepped forward, Whitebeard himself, his weathered hand halting the ship with ease. With a heavy heart, Whitebeard spoke to his crew, telling them to carry on without him, to live and return to the new world. The man who had once been the strongest in the world now stood fragile, his immense power a mere shadow of its former glory. Above it all, Alex watched with a quiet contemplation, having healed Whitebeard's body, yet knowing the pirate's time was short. Even without the ailments, Whitebeard's natural death was inevitable, a truth Alex understood all too well. If he were in Whitebeard's place, he might have chosen the same path. Despite being a magma user, Akainu was left severely burned and teetering on the brink of death. Without urgent treatment, the admirals would be down to 2. Damn it, that monster, what is he? He's terrifying. Kizaru, usually a master of sarcasm, found no exaggeration in his words. The admirals, the pinnacle of power on the seas, had always been a match for the 4 emperors. Yet one attack from Alex left Akainu gravely injured. Even more chilling was that Alex used Akainu's own fire-based powers to defeat him. That was a feat beyond the ordinary. Akainu coughed up blood, the heat having vaporized much of his body's fluids, but his monstrous constitution kept him alive. Using his life return technique, he regenerated blood and healed rapidly. Alex, intrigued, observed this, marveling at life return's power to manipulate the body's energy. While it was impressive, Alex had already surpassed it. Alex had aimed his attack carefully, ensuring Akainu had a 50-50th chance of survival, attacking him simply out of mild annoyance, though he respected him more than the other admirals. After taking Akainu out, Alex moved to Ace, who was broken and battered. Squatting down, he lightly slapped Ace's face and muttered, "You idiot." Alex had always been puzzled by Ace's eventual fate. On the other hand, the Marines were gripped with tension. They all stared at Alex with unease, not daring to let their guard down, not even Akainu. Facing the enigmatic and notorious criminal Alex, who would dare relax? What happened next caught everyone off guard. Alex moved, but instead of attacking the Marines, he kicked the injured Ace square in the face, sending him flying toward Luffy's location. Cursing under his breath, Alex sneered, "I can't stand this anymore. What a goddamn idiot. You lose your cool just because of a few insults? You said you'd carry on Whitebeard's will? That you'd live courageously and never let him down? Bullshit. You've got a screw loose just like your brother Luffy. No matter how normal you seem at first, deep down, you're both morons with negative IQs." Everyone stared at Alex, dumbfounded and slack-jawed. No one could understand why Whitebeard's ally had suddenly attacked Ace. Yet, strangely, they couldn't help but agree with Alex's words. They also thought Ace's actions were utterly foolish. In the next instant, there was no time to ponder further. A massive wave of pressure engulfed the area. Alex wore a mocking smile, one that mirrored Akainu's douchette, and said slowly, "You think ordinary fire can't compare to magma? Then tell me, what do you think this is?" Blistering flames, controlled by Alex's ability to manipulate vectors, gathered in his palm. They compressed tighter and tighter until the heat intensified tenfold, radiating a brightness that rivaled the sunday. The color of flames changes with temperature. For example, Ace's flames are red and orange, with a temperature of around 3,000 degrees Celsius or lower. As the temperature increases, the color of the flames changes yellow-white at approximately 4,000 degrees Celsius, blue-green at around 6,000 degrees, and violet above 7,000 degrees. At this moment, Alex manipulated endless heat, compressing it within his palm and amplifying its temperature tenfold in defiance of the laws of thermodynamics. The temperature of the brilliant fireball in Alex's hand had reached an astonishing 100,000 degrees Celsius. If not for Alex controlling the heat to keep it contained within his palm, the surrounding rocks would have instantly melted into magma. Once the fireball stabilized, Alex smiled and said to Akainu, "Do you know that matter generally exists in 3 states, solid, liquid, and gas? Lava is liquid rock. Imagine a world where the line between the real and the simulated begins to blur. In this explosive tale, Alex Locke is on the brink of achieving the impossible, nearly merging with the very fabric of existence itself. As dimensional rifts threaten to tear the world apart, Alex faces a daunting challenge, deciphering the sage code hidden beneath the mystical Mount Myoboku. With the awakening of ancient forces and chakra entities, reality itself is in flux. As Alex's powers reshape time, space, and energy, he must confront his ultimate reflection, a version of himself from an alternate timeline, and unravel the secrets of the universe. In this journey, every choice echoes across timelines. Every action reshapes the cosmic order, and the stakes have never been higher. As the Genesis spiral unfolds, Alex must confront not only the collapse of reality, but the truth about his very existence. This isn't just a battle for survival, it's a race against time itself. Will Alex unlock the final mysteries of the Sage Code, or will the spiral of origin consume everything? The answer lies in the balance between creation and destruction, and Alex's power may hold the key to everything. In a world where power and destiny collide, Akainu, a magma user, finds himself on the brink of death after a single devastating attack from Alex. Despite his immense strength, his body is scorched, and his life hangs by a thread. Kizaru, ever the cynic, can't help but feel genuine fear for the first time, realizing that even admirals, some of the most powerful beings on the seas, are no match for Alex. This revelation strikes deeper when Alex uses Akainu's own fiery abilities to defeat him, a move that takes far more precision and control than any ordinary attack. As Akainu fights to survive, Alex watches, fascinated by his opponent's will to live. The life return technique, which regenerates Akainu's blood and flesh, captivates Alex, but he knows he's long surpassed such techniques. Unimpressed by the display, Alex turns his attention to Ace, whose broken body lies on the ground, a reminder of the complexities of fate and choice. Alex, though a godlike force in his own right, expresses frustration at the situation, as the loss of Ace still baffles him. Yet, As the world trembles with the aftershocks of power and death, Alex Locke continues his quest, unraveling the very fabric of reality itself. Is this conversation helpful so far? They had narrowly evaded the Navy's grasp, survival within reach as long as they didn't falter. But Ace, unable to resist Akainu's provocations, turned back to strike, a decision that cost him his life and nearly Luffy's as well. The Whitebeard pirates had launched their assault on Marineford with one goal in mind: to rescue Ace. Alex, filled with frustration, couldn't help but kick Ace, sending him flying. Even though Alex's strikes far outmatched Ace's endurance, he controlled his power with precision. Ace fell unconscious, blood staining the ground, but Alex, using reverse curse technique, healed him before kicking him again. This cycle continued as Alex vented his anger, knocking down anyone who tried to intervene with a simple slap. Once satisfied, he kicked Ace toward Luffy, signaling him to catch his brother. Looking around, Alex saw the battle nearing its conclusion. Sengoku and Garp were pushing Whitebeard to his limits, while the admirals were spent. Akainu teetered on the brink of death, Aokiji was drained, and Kizaru had exhausted most of his energy. The 7 warlords were in no better shape, with Moria dead and Doflamingo badly injured. Mihawk had defeated Zoro, who had been empowered by Alex. Meanwhile, Luffy, having overused Gear 5th, was barely hanging on. Both sides, Navy and pirates, were nearing exhaustion. It was the perfect moment for a third party to claim the spoils, and so, the opportunist arrived. A deep booming laugh echoed across the battlefield, and a Marine, eyes wide, pointed toward the horizon, shouting, "What is that?" They had successfully escaped the relentless Navy pursuit, and survival seemed within reach as long as they kept running and never looked back. But Ace couldn't resist Akainu's taunting words, turning back to strike. It was a choice that cost him his life and almost took Luffy's as well. The Whitebeard pirates had launched their assault on Marineford with one purpose: to rescue Ace. Alex's frustration boiled over. He kicked Ace again, sending him flying, the force behind his strike far beyond Ace's ability to withstand, yet Alex controlled his power precisely. Ace coughed up blood and fell unconscious, but Alex wasn't done. Using reverse curse technique, he healed Ace's wounds, only to repeat the cycle of punishment again and again until finally he stopped. Anyone who tried to intervene was swiftly knocked out by Alex's casual slaps. When Alex confirmed that Ace was unharmed, the others realized their futility and ceased their attempts to interfere. Despite the violence, there was something strangely satisfying about witnessing Alex's brutal temper. After venting his anger, Alex kicked Ace toward Luffy, signaling him to catch his brother, and then surveyed the battlefield. In the distance, Sengoku and Garp clashed against Whitebeard at his peak, the fight nearing its end. Even Whitebeard, one of the strongest men alive, struggled against the combined might of the two legends. Among the admirals, Akainu was on the brink of death, Aokiji exhausted, and Kizaru spent. The 7 warlords were in tatters too. Moria had already fallen, Doflamingo was injured, and Mihawk, despite having defeated Zoro, had barely held on to his title as the world's greatest swordsman. The Straw Hat crew was on its last legs, with Luffy's body deteriorating after using Gear 5th. Everyone was on the edge of collapse, and the battlefield was almost drained of life when, like clockwork, an opportunist arrived. A booming laugh echoed across the horizon, signaling a new arrival. A Marine pointed with alarm. What is that? A new presence was about to change the course of the battle. Alex had disappeared from his original spot and reappeared between 2 formidable forces, Whitebeard and the Blackbeard pirates. With a calm flick of his fingers, he activated his limitless technique, effortlessly halting both sides' attacks. Blackbeard, though cautious of Alex, wasn't intimidated yet. A sneer spread across his face. What's this? The infamous Alex interfering in my fight with Whitebeard? He mocked. Alex gave him a glance that spoke volumes, but said nothing. Shifting his attention to Whitebeard, Alex smirked, warning him with a cool, "Don't rush to die. Beyond this grand line, there are worlds full of wonders waiting for you." With a swift flick of his finger, Alex unleashed a burst of kinetic energy, expanding it until it overwhelmed Whitebeard, sending him crashing to the ground before his crew. Whitebeard wasn't meant to die just yet. Alex had plans for him as his future general. Turning back to Blackbeard, Alex casually grinned. "You seem upset. Enraged," Blackbeard shouted. "Damn you, Alex. But before he could finish, Alex slapped him with a force that sent shockwaves across the battlefield. Infusing his slap with the full force of the tremor fruit, the ground shattered violently, sending white cracks stretching over miles, obliterating not only Blackbeard's arm but also destroying his crew members, turning them into nothing but debris. The shockwaves, under Alex's control, didn't ravage Marineford, but instead followed a straight line, obliterating the surrounding terrain, cutting through mountains and islands, before finally dissipating in the distance. Everyone, from the retreating Whitebeard pirates to the Straw Hat crew, froze, wide-eyed in shock, as the sheer power of Alex's abilities left them in stunned silence. Alex vanished in the blink of an eye, reappearing between Whitebeard and Blackbeard's crews. Activating his limitless technique, he effortlessly stopped their attacks. Blackbeard, still cautious but not entirely intimidated, sneered. "What's this? The infamous Alex sticking his nose in my business?" Alex shot him a quick glance, making Blackbeard instinctively step back, but Alex didn't respond. Turning to Whitebeard, Alex smiled and flicked the air lightly. "Don't rush to meet your end. Beyond this grand line lies a world of even greater wonders and adventures." With a simple motion, Alex's finger collided with the air. Through his mastery of vector manipulation, the small burst of kinetic energy exploded, forming an overwhelming force that slammed into Whitebeard. The power was so immense that even Whitebeard, the legendary pirate, was swept away, landing in front of Ace and his crew. Whitebeard couldn't die yet. Alex had bigger plans for him. Turning back, Alex grinned at Blackbeard. "You look upset," he said casually. Furious, Blackbeard seethed. "Damn you, Alex, I'll make you." Before he could finish, Alex slapped him across the face. Having long mastered the tremor fruit's principles through his 6 eyes, Alex infused his slap with its power. Boom! In an instant, a massive quake shattered the surroundings. The ground cracked, spreading thousands of meters, and the quake surged toward Blackbeard with no chance for him to react. Blackbeard's arm was obliterated, and his crew Van Augur, Katarina Devon, and San Juan Wolf were torn apart, their bodies reduced to pulp and scattered into particles by the shockwaves. Under Alex's control, the tremor didn't destroy Marineford. It condensed into a straight line, cutting through the mountain and even splitting the sea, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Everyone froze. The Whitebeard pirates paused in shock. Whitebeard's frustration vanished, replaced by disbelief. Even the Straw Hat crew, who had seen some of Alex's power, were left wide-eyed. "How dare you humiliate me like this? You're dead." With those words, Blackbeard unleashed his dreaded black hole, a rolling wave of darkness that expanded rapidly, consuming everything in its path. The dark fruit's devastating power tore through the space, sucking in anything it could touch, compressing it with an unimaginable force until there was nothing left. It was the same power that obliterated a town in mere moments during Blackbeard's past confrontation with Ace, but now it was even more potent. The gravitational pull had grown, increasing the danger to an unprecedented level. Whitebeard watched in horror, his face tense with worry for Alex. He wasn't sure if Alex's abilities could stand up to this force. Alex had always relied on his mastery of devil fruit powers, but his physical prowess remained a mystery to everyone. Meanwhile, the Straw Hat crew, watching from a distance, felt the weight of the uncertainty. Even though they believed in Alex, Blackbeard's confidence shook them. The Marines, especially Sengoku, watched coldly, secretly hoping the two would destroy each other, allowing them to capture 2 of the sea's deadliest forces without lifting a finger. As the darkness closed in on Alex, he felt a strange energy. The suppressive power of the dark fruit was eerily similar to the mutant suppression devices he'd encountered before. However, he was no stranger to such powers, having adapted long ago. And so, when Blackbeard's hand reached Alex, only to meet an invisible wall that kept him at bay, the terror was evident in Blackbeard's eyes. No matter how hard he tried, Blackbeard couldn't get past that barrier. His observation haki failed to reveal any clue as to what was stopping him. Cold sweat ran down his face as he stammered, "What did you do? Why can you still use your powers, even though I've touched you?" In the blink of an eye, Blackbeard's confidence turned into dread as Alex, unshaken by the clash, stared at him with a grin. Alex casually raised his finger, and a red and white singularity began to form, glowing with a deadly aura. Realizing the immense threat, Blackbeard immediately released his hold and tried to retreat. Desperate, he activated his Devil Fruit ability, Black Vortex, a technique he once used to neutralize Whitebeard's tremors. But this time, the Vortex proved powerless against the Singularity. Despite its best effort to absorb the energy, only a fraction of its strength was contained. The rest exploded through the Vortex, piercing Blackbeard's chest before obliterating everything in its path. Screaming in agony, Blackbeard's crew abandoned him without hesitation, the bonds of ambition alone too fragile to risk their lives. Struggling to survive, Blackbeard called for help, but it was in vain. Alex, not willing to let them escape, snapped his fingers, and the Blackbeard pirates found themselves back in front of him, frozen in shock. With a wicked grin, Alex addressed them, eager to set the stage for the next move in his game. The air crackled with tension, the battle between two titans unfolding before the watching eyes of the world. Blackbeard unleashed his devastating power, the Dark Fruit's void-like force, swallowing everything in its reach. His darkness spread rapidly, pulling everything toward the center like a gravitational nightmare. The earth trembled under its crushing weight, but Alex wasn't fazed. Standing firm, unaffected, as if the void had no grip on him, he silently observed the chaos Blackbeard tried to summon. Blackbeard's cocky smile quickly morphed into confusion, then panic. His hands could touch Alex's leg, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't breach the invisible force that shielded Alex from his grasp. In a frenzy, Blackbeard tried again, but his power was useless, an unseen barrier thwarting him. "What did you do?" he stammered, fear creeping into his voice as he realized his attacks were futile. Alex remained calm, unaffected, as if he were in a world of his own. The battle of wills raged on, but it was clear Alex had already won this fight before it even began. Is this conversation helpful so far? The Blackbeard pirates, driven to the edge by their impending doom, recklessly charged at Alex. Their fury, spurred on by curses and insults, only fueled Alex's calm resolve. He pointed at Lafitte, who had dared to insult him, and with a devilish grin, Alex granted his wish. Utilizing magic from the ancient texts he'd discovered, Alex, despite his modest magical prowess, effortlessly seized Lafitte's spirit, sending it to burn eternally in the flames of his pocket dimension. The horrified screams of Lafitte echoed, louder than any pain Blackbeard himself had ever known. With a glance, Alex turned to another pirate, swiftly delivering poetic justice to each member of the Blackbeard crew, their screams of terror filling the air. Their fear was palpable, but it was Blackbeard, now pleading for his life, who remained. Cowering before Alex, he begged, but Alex, unmoved, opted for a fate far worse than death, amplifying Blackbeard's pain before tearing him apart. The harrowing screams reverberated through Marineford, sealing Alex's terrifying reputation. As Alex surveyed the devastated Marineford, pirates and Marines alike, some cautious, others terrified, watched him in silence. He gave a light smile and, with a slight bow, opened a portal to return to Fishman Island, his next plans already set in motion. As he vanished, Sengoku, Garp, and the three admirals finally let out a collective sigh of relief. Garp, wiping the cold sweat from his brow, murmured, "I can't even begin to understand where Alex came from. He appeared out of nowhere and wiped out Aokiji and Kizaru in no time. After this war, even if we all teamed up, we might not stand a chance against him." Sengoku nodded gravely, adding, "Exactly. And what's worse, he's got a whole arsenal of abilities. From enhancing devil fruits to erasing their weaknesses, not to mention the fact that he can even bring the dead back to life." He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. If he ever chooses to, he could easily overthrow the world government and create his own empire. Meanwhile, Whitebeard's crew, gazing at the spot where Alex had vanished, felt nothing but gratitude. Thanks to him, their old man was alive, and Ace had been saved. The battle against the Marines had ended in their favor. Just as they were about to relax, a portal opened once more, and Alex stepped through, his voice amplified by energy. "Right, I almost forgot," he said with a grin. "I'm giving the world government 1 month. After that, I want every celestial dragon out of Mary Geos, and all forces to surrender to me unconditionally." As he spoke, Buggy and the others, having already ditched their Den Mushi, fled in fear, but the device continued transmitting his words across the world. Alex continued, "You can resist if you wish, but if you surrender, I'll consider your crimes and punish you accordingly." Those who resist will be annihilated. With that, Alex paid no mind to the chaos his words caused. He was already back on Fishman Island, preparing to bring it into his pocket dimension. Back on the battlefield, everyone stood frozen in shock, mouths agape as they processed the gravity of Alex's declaration. It had been years since anyone had openly challenged the world government, but this wasn't a declaration of war, this was a notice. The world's most dangerous man had spoken, and he clearly viewed the world government as nothing more than a trivial obstacle. A pirate ship with a dragon's head on its prow cut through the air, landing swiftly at Marineford. A man with a red cape, missing an arm yet exuding undeniable authority, stepped onto the deck. His very presence screamed royalty. This was none other than the legendary red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors of the New World. Without hesitation, Shanks confronted the admirals and powerful veterans like Sengoku and Garp. Despite sensing the unease in the air, he focused solely on his mission, ending the battle fast to prevent further loss of life. The world needed stability until a future hero could rise. Shanks drew his sword, declaring that the battle was over. If anyone still wants to fight, come forward, we'll handle it. But to his surprise, the reactions were not what he expected. The battlefield had fallen silent, and both sides stood at a strange distance. Sengoku, emerging from his Buddha form, gravely informed Shanks, "This war is over, but a new one is about to begin." Meanwhile, Alex, with his godlike power, opened a portal to return to Fishman Island, leaving behind a gift in the form of a living vine ship. On the island, he discussed with King Neptune his plan to move the entire island into his pocket dimension, and without hesitation, Neptune agreed, trusting Alex's protection. As the vibrations rocked Fishman Island, Neptune informed everyone to prepare for the tremors. Alex, now ready, unleashed his third tree, Abyss form at the center of the island, causing his energy to skyrocket. Expanding his domain, Alex's power enveloped the entire island and the towering sunlight tree Eve. A single stomp from him caused intricate runes to appear all over Fishman Island, fortifying it against collapse during the island's relocation. With everything set, Alex seized control over the vectors of Sunlight Tree Eve and the island itself, triggering violent shaking. The roots of the tree detached, and the entire island rose from the seabed, becoming a movable mass. A massive golden portal appeared above the tree, drawing the attention of the residents who watched in awe as the golden ring, several dozen kilometers wide, revealed a strange island within it. The water churned, the earth trembled, and Sunlight Tree Eve slowly ascended through the ring, carrying Fishman Island with it. Spectators, including confused pirates on the surface, speculated it was a divine miracle, a sign that Fishman Island was ascending to the heavens. As the island vanished into the golden portal, the waters calmed and the portal faded, leaving behind only the memory of what had occurred. Alex had safely transported Fishman Island into his pocket dimension, now positioned 5,000 meters beneath the sea, where the island's energy continued to enhance the dimension, pushing it to new heights. The contract appeared to her mind like an impossible fate, yet she understood it instantly, as if some ancient force guided her hand. Without hesitation, she screamed to the heavens, "Whoever you are, I accept this contract. I offer everything I have to you. I want revenge." As soon as she made her pact, a wave of immense power surged within her, igniting her very soul with the mark of the flame fruit. The newfound strength transformed her. The once frightened girl now stood tall, her eyes burning with a fierce resolve. The pirates, who had once terrorized the island, now trembled before her. Their doom sealed as an inferno consumed them all. This was only the beginning. Across the seas, this pattern unfolded in countless places. Alex's influence spread like wildfire, his followers rising with newfound powers bestowed by the mysterious sigils of the devil fruits. The world trembled as they gathered at the holy land of Mary Geos, each follower ready to tear down the corrupt world government and replace it with Alex's vision of a new order. The chaos spread far and wide, with even those in power, the celestial dragons, the marines, and other forces under the world government finding themselves unable to resist the tide of rebellion. Most rejected Alex's offer, clinging to their own twisted sense of justice or evil, but some could not resist the call. Those who accepted were transformed, wielding the power of random devil fruit sigils, launching a devastating rebellion from within their ranks. The celestial dragons, once viewed as gods, were slaughtered without mercy as their slaves and prisoners rose up. The Holy Land of Mary Geos, once thought impenetrable, crumbled as these new warriors tore through its defenses. The Marines, caught off guard by the sheer power of these new forces, were overwhelmed. Only those with high ranks could stand their ground, but even they were outmatched by the might of Alex's followers. The battlefield was soaked in blood as cannons roared and chaos reigned. Just a month after the war at Marineford, a far more catastrophic conflict erupted, shaking the foundations of the world to its core. At level 4, Alex's ability to create clones reached an extraordinary height. The number of clones was no longer a limit. It directly correlated with the energy he consumed. Each shadow clone became a physical entity, and when dispelled, Alex could absorb their memories. Chakra, once the sole source of energy, could now be substituted with any other source. After enhancing this power, Alex checked the Rugi Shiki template's fusion progress, which stood at 76%. He knew that by the time he returned to the Marvel Universe, it would reach 80%, with the potential to unlock a new character template. A month passed, and Alex prepared for the battle ahead. He doubted the Celestial Dragons had vacated the Holy Land of Mary Geois as he had ordered. The massacre was inevitable. Using a portal, Alex arrived at the Sabaody Archipelago, his domain expanding immediately. Through it, he detected the Celestial Dragons still at Mary Geois, surrounded by the Navy, Cypher Pole, the Shichibukai, and the Science Division clearly unwilling to surrender. Rather than attack directly, Alex planned to turn Mary Geois into a training ground for his followers, helping them refine their skills and gather more energy. With a single thought, Alex expanded his domain to encompass the entire pirate world. In an instant, every soul within froze, their minds filled with the presence of a mysterious contract. The contract promised them immense power and eternal life in exchange for their allegiance to Alex. But the terms were clear. It would require a price. Signing would mean surrendering their life, soul, and energy to Alex. Additionally, only those with neutral or good intentions could sign, and the granted powers couldn't be abused. Despite the temptation, no one rushed to sign, as they understood the consequences were too great to ignore. After signing, participants were bound by a relentless contract to obliterate the Holy Land of Mary Geois, continuing until it was reduced to nothing. The contract's arrival sparked fierce backlash. Some were incensed by the idea of losing their free will. Damn, Alex. Who gave him the right to control our lives? Exactly! Only fools would give up their freedom. I'd rather die than sign it. For those who spoke out, Alex had no mercy. The moment their protests ended, the contract in their minds turned gray, rendering them forever unable to sign. Meanwhile, a different breed, those inherently evil, sought to escape their desperate lives by signing the contract. When they learned they were ineligible, their rage exploded. What right does Alex have to judge me? Alex, you outnumber! But Alex's response was swift and brutal, manipulating their minds until their heads erupted in violent explosions. The horrific spectacle silenced the crowd, with no one daring to challenge him again. Despite the harsh terms, the contract's allure was undeniable, and many, swayed by its promise, chose to sign. On a distant island in the Grand Line, a band of pirates rampaged, mercilessly slaughtering the island's inhabitants. A young girl, hiding in fear, watched as her parents were slaughtered before her eyes. Consumed with hatred for the pirates, she could do nothing. As she steeled herself, a pirate spotted her, leering with malice. "Captain, there's another one over here!" Not bad looking. We're in for some fun tonight." As the pirate lunged toward her, her fear overwhelmed her. Until, just as all hope seemed lost, a mysterious scroll appeared in her mind. As Alex's journey continues, his power surges to near unimaginable levels, reshaping not only time but reality itself. On the eve of a dimensional collapse, he faces his greatest challenge, yet the ancient entities of chakra, hidden beneath Mount Myoboku, begin to stir. With 99% of his template fusion complete, Alex unlocks new abilities that twist the very fabric of existence. The once clear line between simulation and reality starts to blur as Alex confronts his own reflection from a timeline where he never gained the system. His mission: to decode the final sage code buried deep beneath the Earth's core, unlocking the Genesis Spiral, an energy logic that could change everything. But as timelines unravel and cosmic entities rise, Alex must navigate through fractured realities, unlocking ancient truths and confronting the collapse of multiple worlds. With every step, his understanding of the universe expands, but so does the threat of total destruction. As he faces down the forces of fate, Alex is more than just a warrior. He's the key to unlocking a new age, or the catalyst for its undoing. One by one, the Marines fell before Alex's followers, beings nearly impossible to defeat. Even when gravely wounded, their regenerative abilities kept them coming back, relentless. True to the terms of Alex's contract, these followers were granted not just unimaginable power but immortality. Many, tapping into reverse curse techniques, had become nearly indestructible in the pirate world. The battlefield soon became a one-sided affair, as the overwhelming strength of Alex's forces crushed all opposition. In the chaos, some Marines defected, signing Alex's contract and joined his cause, turning against their comrades. At the back of the battlefield, Fleet Admiral Sengoku, Vice Admiral Garp, and Vice Admiral Tsuru watched the unfolding devastation. Sengoku, already warned from past wars, could see what was coming. With Alex's followers driving the Navy back, not even covert operations or the mighty CP organizations could hold them off. The God's Knights, the Science Division, or the Seraphim units stood no chance against such overwhelming force. Resistance was futile. Sengoku, his voice tinged with despair, muttered, "It's all coming to an end." Tsuru, with sadness in her eyes, agreed, "Indeed." Who could have predicted such unimaginable power from Alex? To call him a god is no exaggeration. Garp, always the optimist, laughed heartily. So what if he's a god? Look at the rules Alex set. These followers can't commit evil. If they try, their power is stripped away, and they're done for. Let them overthrow the world government, take down those corrupt elites, and restore balance. The world will finally be freed. Sengoku, cautious as always, warned, "Garp, be careful with your words." But Garp merely shook his head with a grin. "The world government's fall is inevitable. They won't have the time to come after me." As Alex's journey continues, his power surges to near unimaginable levels, reshaping not only time but reality itself. On the eve of a dimensional collapse, he faces his greatest challenge, yet the ancient entities of chakra, hidden beneath Mount Myoboku, begin to stir. With 99% of his template fusion complete, Alex unlocks new abilities that twist the very fabric of existence. The once clear line between simulation and reality starts to blur as Alex confronts his own reflection from a timeline where he never gained the system. His mission, to decode the final sage code buried deep beneath the Earth's core, unlocking the Genesis Spiral, an energy logic that could change everything. But as timelines unravel and cosmic entities rise, Alex must navigate through fractured realities, unlocking ancient truths and confronting the collapse of multiple worlds. With every step, his understanding of the universe expands, but so does the threat of total destruction. As he faces down the forces of fate, Alex is more than just a warrior. He's the key to unlocking a new age, or the catalyst for its undoing. The battle was a spectacle of raw power and chaos. Whitebeard's colossal form sent shockwaves through the air with every swing of his weapon, Murakumo Giri. The Marines scattered in terror, but none were prepared for the force that followed. Luffy, his fiery spirit ignited, grew his fist to unimaginable size, shouting, "Gomu Gomu no! Monkey God Gun!" The force of his punch obliterated anything in its path. Together, Whitebeard and Luffy created an illusion of invincibility, as though they alone could bring down the entire world government. The battlefield became a slaughterhouse. Seraphim units were overwhelmed, pacifistas crushed, and the celestial dragons met their brutal end at the hands of Alex's followers. But far from the carnage, Alex entered a quiet realm, his presence causing the very fabric of space to ripple. He faced Imu, the ruler of this world, a shadow-cloaked figure who had ruled for centuries. But before Alex, she was nothing, a fragile being about to be erased from history. Alex, an outsider from another world, spoke of truths beyond her reach, leaving her to face her inevitable fall. As Alex prepared for the final act, the entire dimension seemed to tremble, and the true nature of reality was about to unfold. A shadowy figure lunged at Alex, fists charged with Conqueror's haki, ryuo, and a blend of devastating techniques, forged by a force unmatched in strength. The figure, an entity like no other, was more powerful than Whitebeard, once heralded as the strongest man of his time. But Alex knew, Whitebeard was merely the greatest of his era, while this being had ruled for centuries. Yet even this power could not withstand the crushing force Alex wielded. With a flick of his will, Alex's domain swept through the air, freezing the figure in place. The blade, shaped like a flower, sliced through the silence, and in an instant, the figure crumbled into dust, scattering with the wind. As the final grains of sand drifted away, Alex spoke, his voice calm. A peak warrior of one world, confined by its boundaries. Had you crossed into other worlds, perhaps you could have been great. But you didn't. And now, you're nothing. Returning to his pocket dimension, Alex paid no mind to the chaos in the pirate world as he refined his power. Meanwhile, his followers, triumphant, executed the celestial dragons in front of the world. And in their place, a new god arose, Alex, the benevolent ruler. However, after the dust settled, Alex disappeared, his whereabouts unknown. Time passed until once more his presence was felt. The remnants of the pirate world rallied around him, waiting for his guidance. But Alex had no interest in ruling. His only goal was to control everything. This time, even a fraction of his power was enough to reshape the world. Respecting his followers, he spoke a few words, establishing a new world government, with familiar faces at its helm. With Dragon as its leader, the new system took root, absorbing the old and ushering in an era of reform, dedicated to serving the nation and its people. Alex had just secured his place in a world of unimaginable power. The chaotic Great Pirate era finally fell, thanks to Alex and his followers, purging the seas of tyranny once and for all. With the chaos cleared, he set his eyes on the legendary Raftel, only to find it was nothing more than a few ancient ruins with a historical poneglyph. Thanks to Robin's knowledge, Alex easily deciphered the origins of the world government, a war between kingdoms and the ancient Joy Boy kingdom, full of betrayal and conspiracy. But to him, it was just history, far removed from his own experience, a distant echo from a world long gone. His time there was a mere tribute to his past. With his mission complete, Alex returned to the Sabaody archipelago, where the Straw Hat crew, now ready for a new adventure, joined him for an interdimensional journey. Before leaving, Alex ensured the stability of his contracts, leaving behind an energy reservoir in the pirate world. As he opened a portal to the Marvel Universe, the cosmic scale of his journey only expanded. Alex now stood at the top, stronger than ever, ready to confront the unknown in a new reality, his senses sharp, his power unmatched. The Guardians of the Galaxy were still forming, and Alex could already feel the inevitable clash of worlds on the horizon. Determined, Alex plotted his course. The next move, traveling to distant planets to collect the Infinity Stones, knowing full well they could greatly amplify his power. Opening a portal, Alex returned to his pocket dimension. The stones had once lost their power when he left the Marvel Universe, their ability to generate infinite energy fading. But now, in his realm, their energy had returned, and Alex was ready to wield them once more. With his experience, he quickly altered the foundational runes of his dimension, creating perfect slots for the stones. The Space Stone, Reality Stone, and Mind Stone began to merge, intensifying the energy of the dimension to unimaginable levels. Through his absolute control, Alex could channel their power indefinitely. When the integration was finished, a single step took him across light years to Xandar. A world of immense military might and a booming economy, Xandar was a paradise, surpassing Earth in beauty and harmony. Alex, blending in unnoticed, wandered its streets, admiring the union of technology and nature, even more breathtaking in person than he had imagined from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. His journey took him to a fountain, where he spotted a raccoon standing upright. It was Rocket Raccoon, holding a high-tech device, excitedly exclaiming, "A bounty! Let's see who the unlucky fool is this time." The screen locked onto a man flirting with a woman, Star-Lord. The bounty? Capture alive 40,000 units reward. Rocket grinned, eager to claim his prize. But just then, a voice broke through. "Wow, that's quite a high bounty." Startled, Rocket turned to see a white-haired man standing nearby, causing both him and Groot to tense. Rocket bared his teeth, growling, "Hey, buddy, I spotted him first! Are you here to steal my bounty?" Alex sized up Rocket, stunned by how much intelligence could be packed into such a tiny head. Theories claimed Rocket's IQ rivaled that of the sharpest minds, like Tony Stark. Maybe Alex's stare was too intense because Rocket snapped, pulling out his blaster and pointing it at him. "Hey, watch it, pal. I'm no pet for you to gawk at." Alex laughed, raising a hand in mock surrender. "Oh, of course not. I've seen creatures like you before walking, talking animals. Just didn't expect to find one here." Rocket froze, the question burning in his mind. Was there more like him out there? Creatures who had been experimented on? Where? Where did you see them?" Rocket demanded. Alex, picking up on his curiosity, grinned. "Not here. In another world entirely. They were human at first, but after eating a special fruit, a devil fruit, they could transform into animals." Rocket's ears perked up. Devil fruits? Magical fruits, huh? The mention of something so unusual sparked his mind into overdrive. If these fruits were real, they'd be worth a fortune. Alex couldn't help but smirk. "Hey, Mr. Raccoon, ever thought about trying one? Gaining some supernatural powers?" Rocket's cautious instincts kicked in, but Alex wasn't done. "There are all kinds of devil fruits. Some turn you into animals, some give you wild powers." Rocket wasn't sure what to think, but the idea of something so strange and potentially lucrative tugged at his curiosity. He wasn't about to trust this stranger. With his rifle raised, he demanded, "What's your angle? What do you want?" Alex remained calm, unfazed by the weapon aimed at him. Nothing short of a galaxy-shattering attack could touch him. He gestured toward the sleazy man in the distance, Star-Lord, struggling to win over the lady. "See that guy? The one failing miserably at charming her? He's got something I need, a metal orb. How about this? We take him down together. You can grab the bounty and I'll take the orb. As a bonus, I'll throw in a devil fruit. Deal?" Alex's mind wandered to a wild thought. Rocket Raccoon, armed with the powers of the Rumble Rumble fruit, going toe-to-toe with Thor. After beating the Asgardian, Rocket would surely mock him. "You're just the god of hammers. I'm the real god of thunder." What a moment that would be. Definitely something to collect. Speaking of collections, Alex thought about the ancient being the Collector, whose collection spanned the universe's rarest treasures. Maybe the Collector could one day become part of his collection. Rocket perked up at Alex's proposal, slapped his leg confidently, and said, "Following Rocket Raccoon is the smartest choice you've ever made. I'll grab that orb for you in no time." Groot's voice echoed, "I am Groot!" At that moment, Star-Lord had just parted ways with a red-skinned alien woman and was kicked out of a trading post, feared by the staff. And soon after, Gamora made her move. The battle was fierce, a wild tussle across the ground, each roll sparking tension and, oddly, the foundations for something deeper, a connection. Just as the fight reached its peak, Rocket and Groot swooped in, wrapping up Gamora and helping Star-Lord break free. But as Star-Lord lunged to grab the orb, out of nowhere, a hand snatched it up. Alex, as casual as ever, crushed it and pocketed the Power Stone into his universe. This stone wasn't just a power source, it amplified the might of the others. Now synced with the space, reality, and mind stones, it unleashed an energy wave, doubling the output of Alex's universe, pushing his energy absorption skills to the limit. His system flashed with the energy surging through him, inching closer to a major upgrade, one that would let him create matter from energy itself. Meanwhile, Star-Lord, furious at the theft, aimed his blasters and demanded the return of the orb. But Alex was too busy scanning his surroundings, even as small spacecrafts appeared, surrounding them, golden light binding everyone but him. With a voice booming from above, the Nova Corps declared Alex under arrest, leaving Star-Lord frustrated and confused. Why isn't he arrested? He stole my orb. The question hung in the air, unanswered. Alex's defiance ignites chaos, as the Nova Corps' attempt to subdue him utterly fails. The commander orders an expanded field, but even their maximum strength binding beams have no effect. As soldiers close in to physically restrain him, an invisible barrier halts their advance. Realizing something is horribly wrong, the Nova Corps turns their weapons to full lethality. Yet, Alex remains unfazed, snapping his fingers with an air of calm indifference. In an instant, every ship, every weapon within his proximity shatters into dust, leaving only the silence of disbelief. "Apologies, but I have no intention of being detained. Can I leave now?" he asks serenely. His words stir the commander into a fury, but before he can act, Alex raises his hand and unleashes a devastating wave of sword energy. The very cityscape itself is cleaved in two as the destructive force spreads like a tidal wave. The once beautiful skyline now bears the scars of an unstoppable power, and the commander's words die in his throat, paralyzed by the apocalyptic spectacle unfolding before him. He opened and closed his mouth repeatedly, struggling to find his words. Then, a strange, twisted smile crept across his face. Within moments, he straightened, exuding a calm yet deferential aura as he bowed deeply before Alex. "Esteemed sir, how could someone of your caliber ever be a criminal? Clearly, we made a grave mistake earlier. Allow me to offer a sincere welcome to Xandar on behalf of its people. We are truly honored by your presence." Meanwhile, Star-Lord and his crew stood in stunned silence, gazing at the devastation that lay before them, the remnants of a city once full of life. With a simple flick of his hand, Alex had unleashed a force that obliterated it all. Yet, in a display of control, no one in the vicinity was harmed. Gamora, familiar with the terrifying power of her father Thanos, was left in awe. Not even the Mad Titan could wield such a level of precision. It was clear Alex surpassed even him. Rocket, his skepticism long gone, felt a surge of excitement. The thunder fruit Alex had promised now seemed more than a mere myth. The power before him was real, and so was the future where he, too, would rise to godlike status. Thunder God Rocket, he whispered to himself, envisioning the title. Having effortlessly dealt with the Nova Corps, Alex issued his next command with cold authority. I need a new ship, fully stocked, and one specific person. His words were met with unquestionable compliance. Strength ruled this universe, and Alex's power had made his requests not only reasonable but inevitable. The Black Commander stepped forward, eager to fulfill the demand. We will provide you with the finest vessel Xandar has to offer. Who, may I ask, do you require? The Nova Corps will ensure your needs are met. Alex's plan was clear. Recruit Drax, the hilariously dim-witted powerhouse, for one reason: entertainment. Known for his innocent, yet comically naive nature, Drax had a unique charm that Alex found endlessly amusing. But beneath this lighthearted purpose, there was more at play. Drax, once a cosmic force capable of tearing apart stars, had been watered down in the movies, and Alex saw potential to revitalize him. He would upgrade Drax, transforming him into a fearsome enforcer within the Marvel Universe. Alex's immense power was undeniable. Having already destroyed 3 of Thanos' Black Order, he now considered Thanos himself a trivial threat. Even the mighty Titan had become a mere subordinate. When Nova Prime, the leader of Xandar, realized the threat facing her planet from Ronan and Thanos, she humbly offered her allegiance, seeking Alex's protection. With little to lose, Alex accepted, even rewinding time to restore Xandar to its former glory. After a brief but leisurely exploration of Xandar, Alex's focus shifted back to his mission, Drax's transformation. The Nova Corps delivered him, and Alex quickly subdued and enhanced the mighty destroyer, preparing him for what would come next. Drax the Destroyer, currently held in the Kyle, was a peculiar choice for recruitment, but Alex had his reasons. The Black Commander didn't understand Alex's interest in the intergalactic warrior, but agreed to hand him over without hesitation. For Alex, it was simple. Drax's role as the comedic relief in the Guardians of the Galaxy was his main appeal. Drax's innocent yet hilariously dim-witted nature provided endless entertainment. But there was more to it than just amusement. In the comics, Drax was a powerhouse capable of tearing apart stars with his bare hands, but the films had reduced him to a mere shadow of that power. Alex had a plan to fix that, to transform Drax into an unstoppable force in the Marvel Universe. Having already dispatched 3 members of Thanos' Black Order, Alex saw Thanos himself as little more than a nuisance, one that a revamped Drax could easily deal with. As Nova Prime, the leader of Xandar, recognized Alex's incredible strength, she offered her allegiance, seeking protection for her planet against the growing threats of Ronan the Accuser and Thanos. Alex, already prepared to crush Thanos when the time came, agreed to help her. He demonstrated his power by reversing a massive black hole he'd previously unleashed and restoring the city. After taking a short break to explore the beauty of Xandar as a mere mortal, Alex finally received Drax. With a swift spell, Alex enhanced Drax, setting him on the path to becoming a force to be reckoned with in the universe. Is this conversation helpful so far? Alex, now near godlike power and a master of time and energy, seeks to recruit Drax the Destroyer, imprisoned in Kyle. The Black Commander, despite not fully grasping the connection between Alex and Drax, agrees to the request, swiftly ensuring Drax's delivery. Alex's goal is twofold. Firstly, to entertain himself with Drax's comedic, dim-witted nature, and secondly, to upgrade him, turning him into a powerhouse capable of rivaling even the mightiest forces in the universe. Drax, once a figure of destruction, had been downplayed in the movies, but Alex saw his potential. Alex, having already taken down 3 members of Thanos' Black Order, views Thanos as no more than a threat for his underlings. Alex's presence is soon reported to Nova Prime, the leader of Xandar, who quickly offers allegiance, seeing Alex's overwhelming power as Xandar's best chance for survival against the looming threats of Ronan the Accuser and Thanos. After demonstrating his immense power by rewinding time to restore the city, Alex takes a break from training to enjoy the beauty of Xandar as an ordinary human. A few days later, Drax is delivered, and Alex, using a reversal spell, enhances him, preparing him to become his ultimate enforcer. The faint flicker in his glowing blue eyes betrayed a predatory instinct. His mystic eyes of death perception stirred, eager to hunt these cosmic giants. Suppressing the surging power within, Alex smiled. Everything that lives can die. The trick is knowing how to kill them. Oh, and by the way, you share a connection with the Celestials. That's part of the power I plan to give you later. Star-Lord frowned in confusion. I have a connection with the Celestials? That's right. It has to do with your father. You'll learn more when the time is right. Alex stopped the conversation there, watching as Star-Lord squirmed in frustration. Alex enjoyed Star-Lord's visible discomfort. There's a certain pleasure in playing the role of the enigmatic Riddler. While people often say Riddlers must die, being the Riddler was undeniably satisfying. Shifting the topic, Alex spoke again. By the way, if you're going to follow me, you'll need to be prepared to face a few challenges. Challenges like dealing with those so-called Celestials. Hearing Alex's tone when he mentioned the Celestials, the Guardians of the Galaxy couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Alex continued, I've had some run-ins with the Celestials. Long ago, I clashed with them after killing their creations, the Eternals. Eternals? Gamora couldn't help but feel that the name sounded familiar. Staring at the endless stars in front of him, Alex's eyes remained calm and steady. Like Thanos, he's an eternal warrior. But unlike the ordinary ones, he's one of their elites. Ignoring the shock in everyone's hearts, Alex continued, I killed all the Eternals on Earth, which caught the attention of Arishem, the leader of the Celestials. He wanted to judge me, but I refused. So, we fought. Back then, I wasn't nearly as strong as I am now. Even with 3 Infinity Stones and the massive boost I got from using a Celestial infant's corpse, I was still no match for him. I lost. But I found a way to escape, and not too long ago, I came back ready for revenge. Alex turned, narrowing his eyes into a smirk. I'm going to wipe out every single Celestial in this universe. The Celestials are now our enemies. Rocket, Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, and Groot exchanged confused looks. I am Groot? Groot muttered. After a moment of silence, they all blurted out in unison. What the fuck? Take on the Celestials? Was he kidding? How could they possibly stand a chance? Star-Lord froze, stammering. Alex, you're joking, right? Rocket added, yeah, we're way too weak for this. How could we even fight the Celestials? Even Drax scratched his head, nervously chuckling. Alex, you scared us. Don't joke like that. But their awkward grins vanished when they saw Alex's expression hadn't budged an inch. It was all true. They realized that what they thought was a ride in a luxury car was actually a terrifying death trap. If Alex kept pushing forward, even the grandest Starliner was bound to crash. Alex, sensing their fear, grinned wider. Don't worry, they're just Celestials. Alex stood amidst the chaos, his team unprepared for what was about to unfold. They couldn't even fathom the idea of facing Celestials, beings far beyond mortal comprehension. To them, these were divine entities, untouchable and invincible. Alex, however, was unmoved. He wasn't expecting his team to fight beside him. All he wanted was their cheer as he took on the Celestials alone, a bit of morale boost as he performed god-slaying feats. But his crew, gripped by fear and uncertainty, remained silent. The mission led them to the mining zone within the dead Celestial's skull, where wealth and power awaited those who dared mine its rare organic materials. As they docked, whispers began to spread. Was that Nova Prime's ship? The lawless individuals around them, always on the lookout for opportunities, saw a chance for a massive payout, perhaps even kidnapping Nova Prime herself. But the most cautious among them, sensing something off, decided to hold back and observe, while the bolder ones began circling like vultures. Fools, one muttered. Seeing the bigger picture, there was something much more at stake here than a simple ransom. The ship's new owner isn't Nova Prime anymore, it's a ruthless figure who took down the Nova Corps single-handedly. Imagine the terror the Mad Titan inspires, and this new person is even more terrifying. The hatch of the spaceship screeched open, and out came several figures. The criminals, poised for action, quickly realized Nova Prime was missing from the group. She's probably still on the ship, not coming out. Let's hit the guards together, kill them, and take the loot. A share of the spoils will let us live the high life for the rest of our days. One of them suggested. Exactly! The others cheered in agreement. With that, they charged forward. Alex, however, was unimpressed by their antics. They weren't worth his time. His team would handle this, while he focused on exploring this lawless zone, driven by power and wealth, and paying a visit to the Collector to reclaim his treasures. As the criminals rushed toward them, Rocket and Drax were practically itching for action. With their newfound strength, they were ready for a fight. When the criminals opened fire, neither bothered to dodge. Rocket was hit but transformed into a bolt of lightning, disintegrating the shell before repairing himself instantly. Drax, on the other hand, charged ahead, unfazed by the attacks that barely scratched his skin. He plowed through, wrecking anyone in his path. Rocket, irritated by Drax's way of stealing the spotlight, muttered, "You dumb brute, stop stealing my kills." He flicked a coin into the air, charged it with lightning, and sent it flying toward the criminals, the electromagnetic force turning it into a streak of blinding light. The ship's new owner isn't Nova Prime, it's someone who single-handedly crushed the Nova Corps. Think of the Mad Titan who strikes fear into entire civilizations. That person? Even more terrifying. Clang! The ship's hatch screeches open, and out step a crew of figures. But where's Nova Prime? The criminals, puzzled, look around, and one says, "She must still be on the ship. Let's attack together, take down these guards, and divide the loot." The others eagerly agree, plotting to take everything. But as they charge forward, Alex yawns, unimpressed. These puny threats are beneath him. His team will deal with them. His focus? Exploring this lawless zone where power and wealth rule, and visiting the Collector to reclaim his treasures. Rocket and Drax, energized by their newfound powers, can't wait for the fight. When the criminals open fire, neither of them flinches. Rocket gets hit, but his body shifts into crackling lightning, disintegrating the shell and instantly healing him. Drax, undeterred by the attacks, charges forward, plowing through the criminals with ease. Rocket, annoyed, shouts, "You dumb brute, stop stealing my kills." With a flick of his wrist, he launches a metal coin into the air, supercharged with lightning. It accelerates, becoming a streak of blinding light as it heads straight for the criminals. The ship's new owner isn't Nova Prime, it's someone who single-handedly crushed the Nova Corps. Think of the Mad Titan who strikes fear into entire civilizations. That person? Even more terrifying. Clang! The ship's hatch screeches open, and out step a crew of figures. But where's Nova Prime? The criminals, puzzled, look around, and one says, "She must still be on the ship. Let's attack together, take down these guards, and divide the loot." The others eagerly agree, plotting to take everything. But as they charge forward, Alex yawns, unimpressed. These puny threats are beneath him. His team will deal with them. His focus? Exploring this lawless zone where power and wealth rule, and visiting the Collector to reclaim his treasures. Rocket and Drax, energized by their newfound powers, can't wait for the fight. When the criminals open fire, neither of them flinches. Rocket gets hit, but his body shifts into crackling lightning, disintegrating the shell and instantly healing him. Drax, undeterred by the attacks, charges forward, plowing through the criminals with ease. Rocket, annoyed, shouts, "You dumb brute, stop stealing my kills." With a flick of his wrist, he launches a metal coin into the air, supercharged with lightning. It accelerates, becoming a streak of Blinn, the universe's largest museum. filled with rare treasures from across galaxies, stood in stark contrast to the Collector's usual calm demeanor. Today, he was anything but composed. The Collector's prized collection of wonders, artifacts, and relics from across the stars was under threat. His latest concern, a looming arrival, Alex, known to Earth as the White Devil, a man whose fearsome reputation had spread throughout the universe. A force who had survived an encounter with Ereshkigal, the celestial leader, and come out stronger, making his name infamous across the cosmos. Now, the Collector found himself preparing to abandon his treasure trove, knowing that Alex's power, his volatile nature, and his terrifying potential made him an enemy to avoid at all costs. The Collector's usual calm shattered into panic when Alex entered the collection room, finding it in chaos. Staff were scrambling to load priceless artifacts onto a spaceship. The Collector, drenched in sweat, turned pale as he saw Alex. The White Devil's cold fury boiled over as he confronted the Collector. With a single chilling question, Alex demanded an explanation for the Collector's actions. Anger flared, but the Collector's words were cut short as Alex unleashed a devastating wave of power, obliterating everything in its path. The damage was catastrophic, and the Collector knew that in this lawless zone, there was no one left to stop Alex. Tens of thousands were wiped out without a second thought. Alex had made his point this universe was his to command. Ding light, as it heads straight for the criminals. With a devilish grin he shouted, 200 million volts, Thunder God. In an instant, raw, untamed energy burst from him, summoning a colossal 30-meter tall thunder raccoon that towered over the battlefield. This beast wasn't just a display of power, it was an unstoppable force. Its strikes obliterating entire fleets with every movement. The enemy's energy weapons were no match, unable to even dent its monstrous form, as Rocket's body healed almost instantly from any blow. Not wanting to be outdone, Drax, with his twin blades in hand, charged forward with a battle cry, his power amplified by Alex's reverse curse technique. Drax's tattoos flared with energy as he swung his swords, slicing through a dozen ships in a single fluid motion. Ronin! He bellowed, challenging his enemy to face him. And from the wreckage emerged Ronin the Accuser, fully armored, his face painted for battle. The air thickened with tension as Drax's rage ignited the tattoos across his skin. You killed my wife! You killed my daughter! He shouted, the force of his voice shaking the battlefield. Ronin, seeing the fury emanating from Drax, recognized a power unlike any he had ever faced. Yet, dismissing his unease, he retrieved his massive warhammer, ready to meet the challenge with his usual arrogance. With a devilish grin, he shouted, 200 million volts, Thunder God. In an instant, raw, untamed energy burst from him, summoning a colossal, 30-meter tall thunder raccoon that towered over the battlefield. This beast wasn't just a display of power, it was an unstoppable force, its strikes obliterating entire fleets with every movement. The enemy's energy weapons were no match, unable to even dent its monstrous form, as Rocket's body healed almost instantly from any blow. Not wanting to be outdone, Drax, with his twin blades in hand, charged forward with a battle cry, his power amplified by Alex's reverse curse technique. Drax's tattoos flared with energy as he swung his swords, slicing through a dozen ships in a single fluid motion. Ronin! He bellowed, challenging his enemy to face him. And from the wreckage emerged Ronin the Accuser, fully armored, his face painted for battle. The air thickened with tension as Drax's rage ignited the tattoos across his skin. You killed my wife! You killed my daughter! He shouted, the force of his voice shaking the battlefield. Ronin, seeing the fury emanating from Drax, recognized a power unlike any he had ever faced. Yet, dismissing his unease, he retrieved his massive warhammer, ready to meet the challenge with his usual arrogance. Ronin sneered, his words dripping with disdain. I don't even know who you are. I don't remember killing your wife and daughter, and I sure as hell won't remember killing you. Enraged, Drax surged forward, his fury amplifying his already dangerous skill with a blade honed under the guidance of Alex. The air crackled as he unleashed a massive slash aimed straight at Ronin. At first, Ronin remained confident, trying to block the blow with one hand. But as the strike made contact, his expression shifted to one of shock. Quickly, he doubled his effort, using both hands to brace himself. Despite his best efforts, the force of the attack sent him hurtling backward. If not for the unparalleled durability of his universal weapon, Drax's strike might have cleaved him in two. Roaring in disbelief, Ronin shouted, This is impossible!" His voice was filled with frustration and fury, the realization sinking in that he was up against something far beyond his expectations.